Good afternoon on what is a bright, warm and breezy day. I'm in the Rig Nook with a nice hot cup of tea, a cat who is not ours, and quite a heavy parcel, which is going to take a bit of careful cutting into, not just because of the way it's packaged, but because of his nose. He gets quite curious as to what it is, but let's delve in and find out. It's going to take careful cutting. That's the way it's packaged. Oh, and he's gone again. So there we are, making progress. Not so much a box as somebody's put together a carefully packaged it up. Oh yeah. No. Just looking for the seams on this to make a cut. And again, very solidly packaged. So you're seeing me, watching me struggle my way through this. I'm not quite sure. There we go. Finally got somewhere where I can extract a book from this package of several. And I'll just show you what I've got in here. Oh, it's upside down, so I'll show you that properly. There we go. So this is all books for the Adventures in Middle Earth. So let's pull the first one out of this, which is this Adventures in Middle Earth Player's Guide. Everything a player needs to create role-playing characters for the world's greatest fantasy setting, of course, Middle Earth. So, in Adventures in Middle Earth, the greatest fantasy setting of all time, comes to the world's favourite role-playing game rules. Smaug has been defeated, the Battle of the Fire Armies has been won, and Bilbo has returned to the Shire. But much danger remains, and from the Orc Hold to the mountains to the dark and corrupt depths of Mirkwood, a darkness waits, recovering its strength, laying out plans, and slowly extending its shadow. In Dale, King Bard sends out a call for brave adventurers to journey to Lake Town, assist him in restoring the glory of the North. Adventurers from all the free peoples of Woodland and beyond arrive to heed the call to adventure, spurred on by diverse callings, whether it be the lure of the road, the hunger for ancient lore, or the simple urge to defend hearth and kin. Adventurers are preparing to explore Middle Earth and battle the rising threat of the shadow wherever it may be found. This player's guide gives you the Middle Earth setting specific rules and guidance to create characters and adventures in the world of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings using the OGL rule set. Character creation features cultures and classes designed for Middle Earth to help you get deep into the setting from the very start of your adventures. New rules add excitement to your journeys and encounters and chart the corruption of the shadow in the unwary or unwise. The quest begins with this lavishly illustrated hardcover Adventures in Middle Earth Player's Guide, followed by the Adventures in Middle Earth Lore Master's Guide, and you can start playing right away with the Player's Guide and the latest edition of the world's most popular role-playing game rules. Adventures in Middle Earth contains 11 playable Middle Earth cultures, 16 new and unique classes, 30 new backgrounds custom made for Middle Earth appropriate arms and armour, unique journey rules, new rules for corruption, new audience rules, rules for the Fellowship phase, and beautiful Middle Earth maps for players and lore masters. Okay, so essentially Middle Earth comes to Dungeons & Dragons, or 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, or Dungeons & Dragons does Middle Earth, which this is published by Cubicle 7 Entertainment and came out, in 2016, 2017? 2016. So, a few years ago, and the interesting thing is that this brings together a couple of things which you didn't think you would ever see, which is Middle Earth, Tolkien, and Dungeons & Dragons. Of course, the original Dungeons and Dragons was inspired in part by Tolkien and Middle-earth and its fantasy, and it had initially the hobbits in there, and then it didn't. It went to halflings instead, obviously because the Tolkien estate objected, or at least the Tolkien license holders objected. This is back in the 1970s. So Dungeons and Dragons has always kind of danced around the Middle-earth and Tolkien, but without really doing anything with it. But this is different. Okay, after years of there being Middle-earth role-playing games, so starting off with MERP, Middle-earth role-playing, and Middle-earth Adventures, both from Iron Crown Enterprises, and then of course you've got the Lord of the Rings role-playing game from Decipher, and then there is of course the One Ring, originally published by Cubicle 7 in 2011, something like that, and then of course picked up by more recently by Freely Publishing. So you have that as the mainstay, but then surprisingly Cubicle 7 did a 5th edition conversant version, which again really surprising. So you could actually play Middle-earth with Dungeons and Dragons properly. What I mean when I say properly, with official rules. Okay, because obviously you could do it if you wanted to. You had the content. You could develop it yourself. Basically from the source material, whether you were taking that from the original books or you were taking it from other role-playing games and adapting it across. The options was there. But with this took you there with the rules and everything. So, and I'm a big fan of the One Ring. I really enjoyed playing it. I really enjoyed the Tales of Woodland campaign, and I think the Darkening of Mirkwood is probably the best fantasy role-playing campaign in a Lovecraftian mode, because if you think about it, the shadow and its effects are not unlike the effects of the Cthulhu Mythos upon your sanity. So we open up with the classic map of Middle-earth, and really very much, as I say, basically the focus is upon Wilderland, to the area to the east of the Misty Mountains, Mirkwood and the like, and we have a gameable version of that map on the inside back cover. Very much, I mean, obviously this is an adaptation of the One Ring. So we have this fantastic artwork. So as you can see, it's very windy. But a bit of a Wilderland today. And here the contents page. We've got quite a lot of content in here. And he's demanding a fuss. Wondering why I'm talking when we get into the forward by the head of Cubicle 7, Dominic McDowell. And I'm not planning to review this for a while because I don't think it deserves to be. It's not a case of I don't think it's deserving of a review. I do. I was interested in reviewing it, but I think it's worth reviewing it a bit further into the future. Give it a bit of time. So I will get to this eventually. And here we get into Wilderland, its background, and the setting for the Middle-earth role-playing game, and its core setting, which is east of the Misty Mountains, Wilderland, Mirkwood, that sort of thing. And we have a discussion of who you play, so whether that's the free folk of the north, from whether you are a barding from Dale, Bjorning, Dwarves of the Lonely Mountain, Elves of Mirkwood, and they're all character options, Men of the Lake from Lake Town, Woodmen of Wilderland, all giving you the background here. And this expands it a little bit further from the core rules of the One Ring. So whilst that did include Hobbits of the Shire, it didn't include Men of Bree, which would have been added in the Bree source book, or the Free Folks, or the Dunedain, which came with Rivendell. Then we've got the Free Folks of the South, Riders of Rohan, Men of Gondor, and so on, and they are additions to further rule books. And we got Discussion of Shadow. So this is all setting you up for the background of the the period for Adventures in Middle-earth, which, like the One Ring, is 2446, something like that. If I remember from my dates, I'm not quite correct about those. Sorry, 2946 is the Third Age. Get my numbers wrong, mixed up there. But again, a few years after the Battle of the Five Armies, and that's one of the things culminating in Tales of Wildland of the campaign, is that you go back and you celebrate the fifth anniversary of that. So we get a discussion of rules for creating characters and cultures and classes and backgrounds. So and then we have wisdom and virtues as well. All the elements that go into the base character, and the game rules for journeys, corruption, meeting with audiences, because you are dealing with essentially the powers that be. So whether that will be the dwarves under the mountain, or Dale in and so on. Bjorn himself, you might meet Radagast, and essentially you'll have an audience with them, and it may well be you interact and persuade them, or ask for their help, and so on. So here we begin to get delving into the particular cultures, and these are all nicely done. They explain who you are, what you believe, or what you commonly believe. So Bardings, Bjornings, Dunedain, Dwarves of the Lonely Mountain, that's quite a lengthy section for the Dwarves actually. Then we get on to Elves of Mirkwood, Hobbits of the Shire. No surprise, when I played this, or at least when I played the One Ring, I played a Hobbit. Then we get Men of Bree, Men of the Lake. So lots of options there for characters. So it's certainly far more than they initially pitched in the One Ring. But it's again, really, you've got a chance to with this. This isn't the One Ring second edition, but it's almost as if they were taking their pick of the content of the previous source books and putting them here. Woodmen of the Woodland. Let's see. Radius of Rohan, Men of Minas Tirith, so basically Gondorians, are all available as player character backgrounds. And then we got the classes. So we've got a full list of the classes there, and then they go through them one by one. So you've got a scholar, and all the way up to 20th level for each character class type. So we've got scholar. So with the scholar, you have paths of wisdom, webs of deceit, physician, habits of the wise, and so on. Lots of building it around, and you have scholar specialities like the master healer. Let's see what else we've got. Master healer. That's basically the one speciality we've got. That's a bit odd. Only to pay for a bit more. Oh, master scholar. There we go. Just a little bit difficult to see under this because the light's quite bright light. Sorry, the light is quite bright. And we've got the Slayer. Perhaps your family suffered a terrible loss at another's hands, or you became a slayer to take your revenge on whoever wronged you. Perhaps a terrible rage burns in your soul, and you just had to leave behind a life that you're not able to enjoy anymore. And one of the things that's interesting that I like is, it's saying here, play a scholar if you want to uncover ancient secrets and use their power against the enemy. I say that's the enemy. Master the art of healing. Ow! Stop it. Just gone and poured me, going, why aren't you making a fuss of me? And they're doing the same thing for the Slayer in each of the classes. So for the Slayer, you've got toss wolves and goblins from your path, like straw and feathers. Take revenge upon the enemy for all the many injustices inflicted on your people. fight alone or in the front line of a company of warriors. So there's the Slayer. I'm just going to do that for each of the different classes. With the Treasure Hunter, which is the nearest thing that the One Ring and also Adventures in Middle-earth has to a thief type character. Wanderer. Player Wanderer, if you explore the wide world of Middle-earth, hunt down and destroy the servants of the shadow, no matter where they hide, guide a company of adventurers through the perils of the wild. And we've got archetypes like Hunter of Beasts and Hunter of Shadows. Warden, defend the free peoples against the shadow, inspire your allies to greater deeds, bring hope when all hope is lost. So basically options there are Counsellor and Bounder and Herald. So you've got more options there. Then we actually have an actual warrior. Difference, okay, so the warrior is there if you defend the free folk for the force of arms, wear heavy armour, and fight with discipline and courage. Command follows all master weapons to their fullest extent. And warrior archetypes include knight, weapon master, so on. And then we get on to virtues, and every culture in here has its own cultures, virtues. Every culture has its own virtues. For example, the Bardings have Birthright and Fierce Shot, Swordmaster, and these give you all bonuses. So for Elves of Mirkwood might have Deadly Archery, Dreams of Elder Days, and Wood Elf Magic, whilst Hobbits have Art of Disappearing, Brave at a Pinch, Fair Shot, Small Folk, and they all give you small bonuses. Essentially, they're almost feat-like in terms of a general design. But I mean, you generally gain them every time you improve your. You can choose to take one of you gain a virtue or wisdom whenever you increase your levels and so on, I suppose. Then backgrounds. So backgrounds, the character's class determines how they answer their call to adventure. Your culture determines where you come from. Your background is the beginning of your story, determining where you find the courage to fight against the shadow or why you might succumb to despair. So they give, honestly, so again, they're going to give bonus proficiencies, features, and specialities and the like. So you might have Loyal Servant or Doomed to Die, and they've also got tables for each of these which you can choose from to individualise your character. Driven from Home, Emissary of Your People, Fallen Scion, Harrowed, or Hunted by Shadow. So lots of options there to really really give you motivation, so on. Lure of the Road, The Magician. So it does allow, to a certain extent, a character with some little bit of magic. Reluctant Adventurer, of course, Reluctant Adventurer is very hobbity. Secret of the Lost or World Weary. And so then we get on to equipment. So basically, just it's very much this is very much a Middle-earth treatment. And what it means is that there isn't a huge amount of weapons to choose from or armor. So there's the armor table. That's about it. And there's the weapon equipment. So weapon armor. So you are really talking, clubs, daggers, great clubs, hand axes, maces, swords, mattocks, scimitars. Really, very straightforward weapons. Nothing fancy. We even have, so we've got equipment for anything from Dalish fireworks, dwarven toys, travelling gear, herbs and potions, of course, because one of the things, if you are a herbalist, you will know how to make potions and apply poultices. You have cultural heirlooms, which you can also gain. So that might be a splitting axe, or of the bardings, or a tower shield. Sorry, a splitting axe of the Bjornings, or one of the tower shields of Dale, a great shield. Hobbits of the Shire might have a bow of the North Downs, or lucky armour. And we're doing this for each of the different cultural backgrounds. Then journeys, and one of the features of Adventures in Middle-earth is really to do the whole aspect of journeying as a storytelling device to get you from A to B, make it interesting and make it challenging. You know, rather than just wandering along having a system of random encounters, there's a bit more to it than that. Everyone has their role, everyone rolls for what they do, and journeys can be as dangerous or as difficult as depending upon the time of year and the nature of where you are travelling. So that's done in several phases. Then we have a discussion of the shadow and sources of corruption, which can befall a character and take away hope from them. And really, ultimately, they can fall into corruption, become cruel, murderous, deceitful, and so on. Ultimately, they can succumb to the shadow. You know, obviously, really being modelled very much upon at Gollum. Audiences really have the interaction rules for dealing with courts and the homes of the great and the good. And then lastly, the fellowship phase, and there's really just fantastic artwork in here. It really captures the classic feel of Tolkien's Middle-earth and its depiction. And the fellowship phase happens at the end of every adventuring season. Generally you have two phases where you'll go adventuring and then fellowship, and so a fellowship phase is where you have a chance to reflect upon what happened in the previous adventure, and that might well be a chance to have rest and recover, grow a bit older because you have a limited time when you actually go adventuring before you get too old, heal corruption, training, deal with a patron, and so on. So you even can gain titles. And of course, in the fellowship probably is the perfect time to go get an ice cream. And this is rounding out where we have sample player characters all ready to play. So we've got a barding, a Bjorning, a dwarf of the lowly mountain, and so on. There's a lot of reuse of the artwork from the core, from the original rules, but that's no bad thing. It's excellent artwork. And then you've got the actual character sheet itself. It's a lot simpler in ways than the One Ring character sheet itself. But you know, obviously there's more information on here to note down because there's just more information in general for Dungeons and Dragons than necessarily the One Ring. So yeah, that's Adventures in Middle-earth, the Player's Guide. I will review this eventually. This is not available. This is now out of print, of course. So you may have difficulty tracking this one down, but do try. I think you'll be, if you've not come across it, I think you'll be mildly surprised. Mildly surprised. I think you'll be surprised how good it is as an adaptation of the source material, and of course of the One Ring First Edition. Anyway, thank you very much for watching another unboxing in the Nook. If you've enjoyed this, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you have any comments or feedback, I appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a parcel and a book or game which I'll unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea, then please do hit that subscribe button. In the meantime, thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook, and I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.